The entrepreneur who pitched 100 times isn't the same person who got funded. That journey transforms you. You learn to read people, to communicate vision, and to persist intelligently. Let me share the biggest misconception about fundraising. Have you ever wondered why some entrepreneurs walk into pitch meetings and they walk out with checks, while others, they can't get past the receptionist? I figured it out the hard way through many rejections. This was 20 years ago when I was young, inexperienced, and thought I knew everything. Back then, most meetings ended with a polite rejection email and the doors firmly closed. But those brutal lessons shaped everything that came after, including a $50 million exit with botObjects a decade later. Here's what shocked me back then. Investors don't care about your product. They care about two things: whether you'll make them money and whether they can sleep at night knowing that you're steering the ship. The truth is harsh. Your first pitch will fail. Likely your second will too. Probably your fifth. The question isn't whether you'll fail, it's whether you'll learn fast enough to bridge the gap between rejection and investment. In those early years, I learned something. The same pitch that got me 47 consecutive no's became a yes when I made one crucial change. I stopped selling the technology and started selling the inevitable future. Take one of my meetings, a disaster that taught me everything. I spent 20 minutes explaining how our platform worked. The investor checked his phone twice and cut me off. I don't care about the tech. Tell me why this matters. That moment changed everything. Investors are future buyers, not technology buyers. They don't invest in what you've built. They invest in where the world is heading. But here's the brutal reality. Most entrepreneurs think no means not interested. But in my experience, no usually means not convinced yet. The lessons from those many rejections became my secret weapon years later when 60% of investors had previously passed on other ventures. Let me share the framework I eventually discovered, the 5-minute fortune formula that works every single time. First, the pain point, not features, not benefits, pain. What's the real problem that keeps your customers up at night? In my early ventures, I spent months pitching solutions to problems that needed further refining. It was a painful lesson on my part. Second, the market momentum. Show the wave, not the surfer. Young entrepreneurs often mistake their personal excitement for market reality. I had to learn to separate my vision from verifiable trends, facts, not assumptions. Third, your unique insight. What do you know that others don't? This was my biggest blind spot earlier on. Thinking being first meant being right. Wrong. Insight beats innovation. Fourth, traction metrics. Early numbers matter, but not the ones you think. I learned to focus on engagement over downloads, retention over acquisition, and customer depth over breadth. And finally, the team story. Investors back jockeys, not horses. They want to know you've been through the fire before and came out stronger. Those many rejections, they became my credentials. I want to ask you something. What's the biggest mistake you've made when pitching? Share it in the comments below. We read every comment and we'll feature the most revealing ones in our next video. Something else shocked me. When pitching those early ideas, investors aren't rational, they're human. They make decisions with their gut and then justify with their brain. The venture capitalist who ended up funding my fourth startup told me years later, I decided to pass on your first 3 companies in 30 seconds. By the fourth, I spent the rest of the meeting finding reasons to justify investing. The revelation changed everything. I stopped trying to convince with logic and started working to align with emotion. Show them the future they want to live in, then give them the math to justify it to their partners. The hardest lesson, most rejections aren't about you. They're about timing, portfolio balance, internal politics, or that the investor just had a bad lunch. I kept a record of rejections and found that over half was circumstantial, not fundamental. But here's where a lot of entrepreneurs find difficulty. They take no personally and shut down communication. I did the opposite. Every rejection became a future relationship. I sent quarterly updates to everyone who'd passed. 6 months later, 3 of them led follow-on rounds in different ventures. If you can build a good network, you're on track for a healthy net worth. The last exit taught me something profound about those early endeavors. The quality of your rejections predicts the quality of your eventual success. When investors pass saying, this is too early for us, versus I don't get it, you're on the right track. Here's a mistake that cost me months. I thought big names meant big checks. Wrong. The most helpful investors aren't always on magazine covers. Sometimes the hungry associate at a smaller fund becomes your biggest advocate. The reason for this is one thing: building rapport. This is something you can do much better with someone who is more accessible and will be open to a working relationship. 20 years later, some of my best investors were the same associates who rejected me in early ventures, but remembered how I handled it. They'd grown, I had grown, and the timing finally aligned. The game changer, creating visible value before asking for money. I started sharing detailed case studies of failed experiments. I published data that other startups could use. I became useful first, fundable second, and investors started coming to me. Here's what most pitch coaches get wrong. They focus on the content over connection. But investors fund people they trust, respect, and want to spend time with. 100+ meetings later, I realized fundraising is like dating. Chemistry matters more than the compatibility on paper. The turning point came when I stopped trying to impress and started trying to understand. I asked investors about their biggest wins and losses. I inquired about their thesis and where they saw the market heading. Suddenly, meetings became conversations, not performances. But here's the paradox. The minute I stopped needing their money, they wanted to give it to me. Desperation repels capital. Confidence attracts it. When I presented my later ventures as inevitable, with or without their investment, they scrambled to get in. But let me share the biggest misconception about fundraising: that it's about convincing investors you're worth the risk. It's not. It's about helping them see how you minimize their risk. Years later, I didn't just pitch the ROI, I pitched the risk mitigation strategy, how we'd navigate competitive threats, technical challenges, and market timing. We showed them our playbook for surviving the worst case scenarios. Here's my final insight. Fundraising never stops, even when there's millions in the bank, because today's pass might be tomorrow's lead investor in your next round. The entrepreneur who pitched 100 times isn't the same person who got funded. That journey transforms you. You learn to read people, to communicate vision, and to persist intelligently. Rejections are inevitable, but now you know every no brings you closer to the right yes. Every failed pitch teaches you something valuable. Every closed door might reopen at the perfect moment. If you're grinding through rejections right now, remember this: the investor who changes your life might be meeting number 101. Don't stop before the breakthrough. What's your funding story? Drop a comment below and share your biggest lesson learned. Let's help each other navigate this journey. My team and I pour countless hours into creating these videos because we know how valuable these insights can be for your journey. If you found this helpful, hit the like button and share it with another entrepreneur who needs to hear this. And make sure to subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching.